when I was at Barcelona, actually, in the last season at Barcelona, I was 29 going on 30. And I'd been playing on the wing all that season with Johan Cruyff, and I decided that I had to leave, really, at the end of the season, but I didn't know where I was going. And we were on end of season tour with England, playing, I think it was in Denmark, and we had a friendly game there. And I always roomed with Peter Shilton, and the telephone went, and I was actually in the bathroom. I was sitting on the loo, and I heard Peter Shilton answer the phone. And now Schultz was an incredibly confident guy with everybody, but I thought I could hear him chattering away, and I thought, that doesn't sound like Schultz. He sounds like he's a little bit nervous. He's a bit in awe of whoever's on the phone. So I heard him say, hang on a minute, he's on the loo. So he shouted me, and I went, I'll be there in a minute. So I did what I had to do. I got up and I came in, and Peter Shilton covered the mouthpiece of the phone, and he went, "It's Brian Clough." And I thought, oh shit. So I walked over, picked the phone up, and he went, "Young man, have you washed your hands?" So forgive the impression. So I said, yes, I have, Mr. Clough. He went, "Call me Brian." I said, okay. He went, "Tell me, are you signed, sealed and delivered?" I said, well, no, actually, I'm quite open-minded as to where I go. I said, I've got to leave now. I said, I've got some interest from different parts, but nothing yet finalised. He went, "Would you consider coming back to England?" I said, well, yes. I mean, that's a possibility as well. There is interest. "Would you consider coming to Nottingham Forest?" I went, "Not really, no, Brian." "Why not?" I said, well, to be perfectly honest, Brian, I said, if I come back to England, and this came out really, it didn't come out how I wanted it. I said, if I come back to England, I want to come back to one of the big clubs.
Oh dear.
And Peter Shilton buried his head in the pillow at this point. And Brian Clough went, "Nottingham Forest is a big club. There's only Liverpool won more than us in the last 10 years, young man." I said, "No, I understand what you're saying." I said, but when I talk, I'm talking about the big clubs with the big crowds, and I was just getting myself in a bigger pickle. And I said, "No, I'm from Leicester." I said, "It's down the road." I said, Forest is really difficult, if you understand me. He went, "No, I don't. Call me Mr. Clough," and bang the phone down. That's brilliant. True story.
I never thought in my lifetime that I would see anyone come remotely close to Diego in terms of ability with a football. I think we've seen Messi, who's very similar in many ways. Obviously Argentinian, diminutive, brilliant left foot. But Diego was incredible. I actually played with him as well for half a game, played for the rest of the world, and at Wembley against, funnily enough, for the English League side, because it was centenary. I played for the rest of the world because I was at Barcelona at the time. And all the players, there was people like Platini on the pitch, lots of great players from around the world, and everyone was totally in awe of him. First thing he did was in the dressing room, he sat there, just a pair of shorts, and like you roll your socks up. He just did them, and he juggled them on his left foot. He just like that for about 5 minutes, and everyone was going, whoa. And then we went out on the pitch, and I don't think I'm tuned in. I think I can stand up and show you this. He did something that was incredible, one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen on a football pitch. It might not sound that amazing to you at home, but I think you'll appreciate this. He juggled the ball all the way out to the centre circle, and then he got to the centre circle, still juggling it, and then he went, bang, and he whacked it as high as he possibly could, and he waited. And it came down, and he went bang, and he did it again. And he did it 13 times, and the most he ever did was walk 3 paces to it. And all of us were sitting there going, oh my God, that's...
like I was then.
That's impossible.
It is.
And I remember going to training the next day in Barcelona and stuff, and we all tried it, and the best anyone did was 3, and they were running for the 3rd one. And I've just never seen anyone have just such a beautiful affection with a football.
I'd not been very well the night before, but I didn't tell anyone because I wanted to play. I don't know, 15 minutes in, I started cramping again. I was like, oh Christ, I'm in a lot of pain here. The ball goes out on their left-hand side, and I kind of did like lunge at it. And as I did that, I kind of relaxed everything. It's just gone boof, right? And I've gone, oh my God. I felt like crying. I used to have fallouts with Gazza all the time.
Oh.
Because he was brilliant, and I love Gazza to bits, and I always will, but sometimes as a striker he was frustrating because he'd beat 3 men, and then he'd the only time he'd ever give you the ball really was if you had no choice but to give him straight back, which was a sign of how good he was in many ways. But perhaps the most amusing one was that we played at Main Road. Yeah, that's Manchester City's old ground. I don't know whether you know that, Micah. And we were playing a game there for Spurs, and I used to, part of my pre-match routine. It's another bizarre. This was not a superstition. This was because I was always a bit stiff in the legs and stuff. I used to have a little hot bath, like just for 2 minutes, hot water, stretch my hamstrings. Get out, get ready, go out, warm up, come back. So obviously at some grounds they had little small baths, and some of them they had in those days was those big communal ones which you'd all get in after the game, which strikes me as bizarre really. But anyway, so on the grounds that had big baths, the first thing I did when I got to a ground was look to see what the bath situation was. So at Main Road it was a big one. So I've put it on hot water, filled it up, get in, stand there, in the big ones you just stand there, did a few stretches, thighs, hamstrings, calves and all that.
Are you bolloco at this time, or you got your slips on? Are you naked?
No, I'm bolloco. I've never heard that phrase, but I think you mean bollock naked.
Yeah, bolloco.
I'm not going to go in there in my shorts, am I? They're going to get soggy. So anyway, I stretched for 2 minutes, and Gazza walks into the and he goes, you're always doing that. It's like, I'm not going to try and do a Geordie accent here, Gareth. Al, don't worry. Or maybe I will. And he says, you always do that. Why? Why'd you do it? I said, well, I'm always a bit stiff, and I just a quick stretch, and it just makes me feel better before I warm up. He went, I might try it. I went, yeah, do it. I said, just a couple of minutes, quick stretch, bosh, out you get. So I get out, he jumps in. I go out, get my kit on, go out onto the pitch. I do 15, 20 minutes of a warm-up, and came back in, put my shin pads on. Last thing I always do is have a pee before you play. So I go back into the bathroom and I look in, and Gazza is still in the bath. He's been in there for 20 minutes. He's got the water up to his neck like this, and it's boiling hot, and his face looked like a strawberry. I went, oh, for don't tell me you've been in there since I left. He went, why, it's great. So I went, oh, for Christ's sake. So we go out onto the pitch, right? So we play in the first half. We're all over the shop, and he's having one, and he's going, oi, Links, what have you done? What have you done to me? I'm all giddy, I'm all giddy. And honestly, this is true. So we get in at half time. I think we're 2 down or something. And we sit down in the dressing room, and Terry Venables has gone, Gazza, what's the matter with you? He went, it's Lineker's fault. He told me to have a bath, and I'm all dizzy, and I can't eat. Absolute shambles. That was. It really was. Yeah.